Well, good morning, America. So, as promised, it's what are we calling it? This is the story of us.
This is us.
This is us. This is going to be a weekly thing. It's usually going to be on Friday. We were disrupted yesterday by some medical excitement, and it's all okay. So here we are again. And I think we decided the first thing we're going to talk about this week is animals and how, at least in my case, you make the adjustment from the city view of animals to the country view of animals, which I discovered is very different. When I came up here, I'd never been on a farm before. And so I took my advice from a lot of friendly farmers who helped me out. And then one of the first things they told me was, no farmer can survive if they treat animals the way city people do. We can't call the vet all the time. We can't afford it. The only animal we can really call a vet for is a cow, because that's how we make our living. So that kind of became my idea. And that was 11, 12 years ago, just before I married my wonderful wife, Maria, who happens to be right here. And I evolved over the years. You may be following our drama with the white hen, who disappeared for five days, came back, and we both thought she was about to die. And Maria had adopted her and set up a hospice. I call it a hospice for hens.
I didn't call it hospice for hens, you did.
Which I now call assisted care for hens, so we've evolved. And so, you all know what's going on with animals and the cost of vets. It's like $1,700 a year we spend on animals. And the vet bill on average is like, $200 to $250. So we've evolved, and the hen is a great way to talk about it because we love taking care of her. We've decided to pay her back for years of good egg laying. And because Maria has a very special relationship with animals, more than me in many cases. So that's all it's been interesting how we've evolved. At least I've evolved, and I think she was always that way. So,
well, I don't think so. I think it's like a coming together in different places, because I think, I never thought of my dogs as children. I was close to them, but I never thought of them as children. I never thought of them as people. But I think when I came and lived on the farm and I saw how you were with the animals was very different about, when you call the vet and when you don't. And I think I would have, I think I learned from you, and I think that what has happened over the years is I think when you had the animals on Bedlam Farm, you're a little extreme in some of your.
Well, that's very delicately put.
Like what you did
it's
with
a little crazy.
The little chickens.
He referred to, I should say, I stomped some baby chickens to death, which is what the farmers do. And she almost declined to marry me for that.
Yeah, that was one of the things that was like, okay.
They all said it's the fastest, quickest, most reliable way. So
you can't have too many chicks.
You can't have too many chicks, and they go right away without pain. So anyway, I wouldn't do that today, but it's not good public.
So I think we've kind of come together in a good
Definitely.
kind of healthy place where it's not one extreme or the other. We deal with we think about each animal differently, right? I mean, when Brown Hen got attacked by Bud, and she was obviously dying, we just put her down, and that was there was no question.
I got my rifle.
We're not gonna try and save this chicken who is just can't be saved. But White Hen is White Hen's different. White Hen is doing okay. She's doing really well actually. And I do sometimes think, okay, do I really need to I have these chickens now I have to take care of in the coop, and now I have this other hen, and she's separate and I have to take care of her separately. And do I really want this extra kind of responsibility of doing that? But she's doing so well, and now that we're talking with each other, it's like I couldn't say, "Oh, White Hen, we're going to just put you down."
They're like best friends. They're besties. They're best friends.
And you're pooping, and you're doing fine. Well, I'm going to put you down. It would seem wrong. I can't do that at this point. So.
Well, I've also learned a lot from you. We have a relationship with these chickens, which I never had before. We never had before.
Yeah, it's true.
You go out every day with leftover food, and you sit down and talk to them and feed them, and they love you, and they come running. And also, me too. I love taking pictures of them.
Yeah.
And so we got, these are, I call them the imperious hens, because they have great attitude. They're very diligent. I admire the way they work. They're smarter than I always thought they were. and we had and we cared a bit about them.
Well, you know what's kind of ironic is that we called white hen and brown hen, because we said we're not going to name these hens because they're just going to die. Chickens die; they die really.
We were losing a lot of
easily.
chickens.
You know, they die really early. They don't live a long time. And so here's white hen, and she's 11 years old, and you know we have our little like special care unit for her. And so the idea of not giving her a name did not work in not making us close to her.
Well, also we're not spending a lot of money on her. You know, we're not,
we're not
calling the
spending
vet. We're not spending any money on her.
We're not spending any more money on her than we would have otherwise.
Right.
You know.
But I think it's the question really is how far do you go? So how far would you go to keep her going?
I think if I saw her suffering, if she stopped eating, you know, if she looked like she was uncomfortable or she wasn't moving around anymore, she wasn't, you know, having her daily routine of perching and eating and, you know, moving around, I think then, you know, then I would be okay. You know, it's time to put her down because she is old.
We're not calling the vet. We're not going to have any procedures.
We're not calling the vet. I don't think there are any vets around here who deal with chickens. I mean, even
probably,
Suzanne does not deal with chickens.
We'll probably find somebody.
Maybe.
But I think it is an evolution, and I think it's also a bit of sharing between us. You know, I always love my veto rule, our veto rule, where we each have veto power over the decisions of the other. And this is when somebody says, no, I don't want to do that, that's kind of the end of it. And so we don't get to fight about it. And I think that has forced both of us to listen a little bit to each other and fuse. And I like taking care of this chicken. I want to go shoot her. And I feel grateful to her. I mean, we've had eggs from her for 12 years, 11 years.
Yeah.
And she has a great, kind of regal quality to her. But the other thing that's striking to me, and a revelation to me really, is the way she and Maria talk to each other. And we've had some videos of this. We put some videos up of this. But they're really communicating. When she sees Maria coming, she's ba 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 ba. Maria ba 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 leans over and talks back to her. But they're having a conversation. This kind of blew my mind. And I'm not quite that close to her, but she's also very comfortable with me, and she lets me take her pictures.
You haven't perfected the chicken sounds. I'm really working on the chicken sounds to try and get
I suppose
them
you want to do the chicken sounds
and,
first.
Well, it's really helpful to have her there to imitate. And basically, that's what I do.
But wouldn't you say you have a relationship?
Yeah, there's definitely
and
something
that you're
going on
communicating
there.
with her.
Yeah, we're definitely.
What do you think is going
to
on
each
there?
Other. I don't know. I think she may be blind or blind in one eye or not seeing as well, possibly.
Why she wandered off.
It could be why she wandered off and got lost and didn't know how to come back. But what did you ask me?
What do you think is happening in those conversations?
I think she's just making a connection. I think it's something familiar. I mean, I always did bop 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 bop, and she would come for food.
It's a little strange. This is kind of strange.
Well, but people make sounds for their chickens, and they come running for food. That's not unusual.
And I get the loveliest letters from people who had chickens and thanking us for taking care of her.
I mean, we're not bringing her in the house and putting a diaper on her like some people do, or a sweater.
No.
I'm not going to do that.
No, we're not going to do that. If anybody's going to get a diaper, it's going to be me. Well, all right, I think our time is about up.
I think,
to
yeah.
be truthful.
We don't
So this is our first
overdo it.
effort. We're going to do it post it every Friday, and we're kind of serious about it. I think it's a good thing to be doing, and I got really good response when we talked about it. So it's going to be up on our blogs today, Saturday,
But usually
and in the
Fridays.
future on Friday. So thank you for joining us. I hope this is helpful. Please feel free to respond, or just watch, and have a good time.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.